Good morning and good night. My name is Isabel Starck, and welcome to the Empower Hour. This is episode number 23, and I have a very special guest for you guys today. Her name is Joanna Green. We are friends, we are colleagues, and we're both amazing coaches, and I'm so happy to have her here today. We are both here on the East Coast, so I'm in Toronto, she's in New York, and I'm going to have her come on and just tell her story a bit about her journey and where it is that she finds herself today. For those of you who are watching and wondering, why is this woman like looking down all the time? I'm actually doing a periscope of this broadcast while we are live. So forgive me if I keep looking away, but that's what I'm doing. So Joanna, welcome, and thank you so much for being here. So excited to have you on. Why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do in your coaching?
Wonderful. Oh, I am so excited. I have to say,
I'm going to have number 23, and I have a very special guest for you guys today. Her name is Joanna Green. We are friends. We are colleagues. We're both amazing coaches. You got it? And I'm so happy to have her here today. We are both here on the East Coast, so I'm in Toronto. She's in New York, and I'm going to have her come on and just tell her obviously we're having a little bit of technical difficulties about her journey and where it is that she finds herself today. For those of you who are watching and wondering why is this woman like just feedback, I'm actually doing a periscope of this broadcast while we are live. So forgive me if I keep looking away, but that's what I'm doing. So Joanna, welcome, and thank you so much for being here. So excited to have you on. Why don't you? I think I know what was going on. I think it was my computer was actually playing this live.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Perfect. Okay. And I can hear you perfectly fine too.
You just want to begin all over? You're so good at this. I am so, do you know this is like my first thing of doing something live? I am like so fucking nervous. You have no idea. I really feel like I'm in middle school. I'm going, and I'll call myself out on it because it just makes me feel better, whatever.
Well, you know what? It's good to actually call yourself out, have it out there.
Oh, completely.
I'll embrace it with you, honey.
What?
I said, I'll just embrace it with you.
Oh, it's all good. No. I'll be fine. I'm like, it has nothing to do with anything. I'm just like, getting like, yeah. Okay, go.
All right.
So we're going to start from the beginning, heads from the all beginning, Periscope, everything beginning.
No. We're live. We're live on this on Google Hangouts. So we just are going into you introducing yourself, letting you know how you actually became the founder of Luminous Living and conscious lifestyle design. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself and let our viewers know who we have here today.
Okay, awesome. Good morning, good evening, good night, ladies and gentlemen. I am Joanna Green, the founder of Luminous Living and Conscious Lifestyle Design. So let me tell you a little bit about me. First of all, I have to tell you, this is the first time I actually done a live broadcast. So if you see me a little bit nervous, you're getting the like middle school vibes, which is really ironic because I'm wearing this like plaid or gingham, right? Isn't it gingham shirt? That is the same plaid that my middle school I used to go to, which was an all-girls school. The same plaid I used to wear as a jumper, which is a really interesting segue a little bit into about my story and my journey. So I went to an all-girls school growing up, and it wasn't the nicest relationship between girls. It was very competitive. It was very undercutting, to the point that there was even this whole investigation for my senior year about somebody writing everybody else's colleges and telling them like why they shouldn't accept it. So my relationship with women growing up wasn't the most kumbaya.
Sounds a bit catty. Sounds a bit catty.
Just a little bit catty. And apart from all of this, all of the competition was about intellect. It was like, which college are you going to? What sports teams are you on? So it wasn't the most feminine embracing thing. And it really began a whole cycle of me trying to figure out, what do I do to fit in? What do I do to belong? What do I do to be popular? Like, how do I make it work in this world? And I know that we have all had whatever version that is, but it really went deep for me. I ended up when I was younger having a lot of anxiety, having an eating disorder, which is very, very prevalent upon that type of population, and really spending my life trying to figure out how to be the best so that everybody else loved me, so I belonged, so I felt validated, because everything since I was younger was dependent upon what grades you get, what boyfriend you have, what outfit you wore to the prom. Like, all of that was so prevalent and was the world I lived in. And what I was dealing with underneath it is like, I had this experience where I was like, all of this is bullshit. Like, I know all of this is bullshit, but there wasn't any other option, right? Like, I didn't want to go hang out with the druggies because I didn't feel like I needed to like dumb myself down out of it. And there was no other opportunities of what to do. And I really spent my whole, even in college, like not really getting this frat scene, like not feeling like, okay, so like now we're just getting drunk and whatever. Now, this does have to do with luminous living over time, but it's where I was coming from of like, you know, this is what was the options that were being given. And even to the point now, I live in New York, you know, it's like, where are you going out? Where are you partying? There's still that current of, you know, that's what, you know, society and socialization's about.
So how many years do you feel that you were actually in that? I mean, you mentioned middle school, you mentioned college, so
probably, you know, it wasn't until after college when I came back from working in Manhattan. So I would say I was about 26. I was working in marketing and advertising in Manhattan. And I was like, there has to be something different. There has to be something different. I was so obsessed with figuring out why people were like this that I actually have a background in marketing and advertising and branding, as well as psychology, because I really could not understand what this was about. I ended up, the awakening point, not like the true awakening, but the beginning of it was when I started doing product development at Lululemon Athletica. And I was involved in now, oh my gosh, these are like cool girls that exercise, that, you know, like the lifestyle. Now, this was before like Lululemon got really, really big, right? This was when we're still looking of like, what is this icon that are on people's pants? Like, it was before it became truly, truly the norm and popular, which it is now.
Before it was bought out.
Yes, way before that. It was when Chip Wilson was still having it, and when it was very integrated into the transformational technological world. That's when I started seeing a company that was running on positive values, that were trying to empower people rather than having them buy things because something was wrong with them. And I was delighted about that. And I became fascinated with what it would take to create a company that actually built people up and supported people rather than had people just work from a 9 to 5. Mm-hmm. My introduction to that, I then began doing more transformational technologies, and Lululemon was founded by Chip Wilson, who did the Landmark Forum, which is a type of transformational educational company. So what I did was I went all the way through that curriculum, and that was when I was like, maybe I should do coaching. Now, coaching was not cool then. Coaching was people that were executives, that were older men, that were partly balding with brown suits with ties doing executive coaching. Like, that was what coaching was. And I was like, ugh, like, that is so not me.
Yeah, and actually, I didn't realize that you had done the whole curriculum. I've actually done the whole Landmark curriculum as well. So that's another thing that we have.
Yes, to the point that my boyfriend, as of 2 years ago, was being trained to be a Landmark Forum leader and does curriculum design. So we have a very transformed relationship, and call each other out a lot. So I don't really get any time, you know, like some people, like they're like, oh, well, my boyfriend doesn't understand this world. Oh, no. I don't have it. Sometimes people are like, so why don't you have so many coaches? I was like, you don't understand. My whole life is inside of a coaching conversation. Like, nobody could call me out on such an every moment basis than my significant other. So I think part of the reason I've become a better coach more recently is because I live like every moment of my life inside somebody that is always calling me out on my stuff and always seeing me beyond who I think I am. So
Being present.
that was truly one of my biggest gifts that I've actually gotten in my education. Did not come from any seminar, but from life itself and my relationship. But so I went through all of that, and then I was in the leadership training program in Landmark, and I had this experience, which I still can't, I would say I had a spiritual awakening. And I had all of this download, that's the word I would use, and it's pretty now prevalent, but back then it wasn't really prevalent, about what was possible and what life was truly. And I didn't know what to make sense of it. It was like the lights turned on in the room and I had no understanding of what I was seeing. And that is what began a spiritual practice. Because truly, it wasn't one of those like, this was like angels and everything. It was like I had this illumination and I had no idea and no context in my current reality to make sense of it.
Was this during the curriculum? Because I do recall having a very similar experience.
I did. I got it during ILP, which is the Introduction Leaders Program. And I got it during like between one of the weekends towards the end. Now I've gone on since being with my boyfriend and done the wisdom, and we're about to go to Costa Rica for 2 weeks and do cruises. So now I do transformation on vacation. So that's kind of how I've transitioned my kind of course. I'm like, unless I'm on a beach, which is how I kind of do my own business, I'm not sitting underneath fluorescent lighting doing transformational work anymore. It doesn't work for me. It's like not evolved enough. We need to be like sipping like green juice on and doing definitely yoga on a beach.
Yeah.
So, so what I would say is, well, Landmark was wonderful. Where I was in my own consciousness, it was a very mental kind of construct for me. It was mentally getting out of my loops. A lot of it was embodiment, but not fully. And I really I got this awareness that I didn't have any tools to make sense of. So the Sagittarius that I am, who always loves learning, was like, okay, I got to find new tools. Like I got to make sense of this world. And that's when I began doing transcendental meditation and going down the windy hole of spirituality and all that entails. And I must have tried everything. I mean, I've done matrix energetics, theta healing, Reiki, holographic reprogramming. Like I was wanting to understand. I began it's like I went from dial up to HD TV 360 and had all these sensory awarenesses, and was like, one, am I going crazy? Two, how do I make sense of it? And three, how can I utilize it to both improve my life and the lives of others? And so it was really an interesting dance of trying to figure out the role that it is. Now this is pre-2012, okay? So I really have to say this because since that kind of pivotal agreed upon year, a lot of people, this has been a much more normal conversation. But when I was in it, it really still wasn't. It was the new agey, expo, that was where you found this. So I always ended up being thrown over a cliff without a lot of cool people on the other side to be there to have a tribe. There was never a tribe for my awarenesses. And I always just had to go to the hippies that were from the 60s and get the information that I needed to get. And that's always kind of now been my journey. So truly where Luminous Living came from is I became so interested in this that I really wanted to devote myself to really supporting people that were going through an awakening process, whatever that means. If that means that you're taking on, choosing your life purpose, taking on your dreams, right? And when I began coaching, because I now had these awarenesses, I would be able to coach somebody and they would be telling me something. And I'd be like, no, 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 no. That's because something happened at 7 with this person and this person, and this person. And I just knew. And the daughter of a doctor in me, let's put it that way, was like, is this ethical? Like, how do I make sense of this? Like, I didn't come from a medical physical family. So how do I make sense of this? How do I ethically coach people around this awareness? Is that, you know, I don't know. Is that even true? Right. So I actually,
all of your experiences. I mean, you mentioned your background in psychology, and then your, you know, your spirituality, everything that you found, your marketing. Didn't you have some base at least that you could make some, you know, decisions or?
But I didn't have a belief system to trust myself. And I didn't have the belief system. Like, I didn't come up with the belief system. I still was so ingrained in a fear around the medical model that if anything I saw wasn't inside of that, I didn't trust it. And that was my programming that I came from. So when I saw these things, it didn't matter how much training I had. I didn't feel I ethically had that amount of training. So as a result, what I decided to do is I went to more graduate education. So I actually went to get my master's in holistic counseling psychology, in transpersonal and somatic studies, which means higher spaces of consciousness, body-oriented psychotherapy, because I got to the point of understanding that a lot of trauma and everything lives in the body, or in the mind-body system, and not just in the mind. So you really couldn't take the beliefs. You had to take the entire energetic system. And then I really started looking at the role of creative arts expression as a non-verbal way of transmuting energy. So that's when I finally found a community in California for my graduate study of really getting, okay, if everything is energy, what are actually the tools and techniques that actually produce results and sustainable change with people?
So this is Santa Monica school?
No, I actually went to John F. Kennedy University. Santa Monica, while I would have loved to do, as I said, my belief system about the educational system and needing to do licensure was very deep. And so I really understand when people are like, oh my God, can I be a coach? Do I have a certification? Like, I really get that. Like, I would have like panic attacks if I, you know, didn't have enough schooling. And, you know, I truly would say to most people that I'm like, we've gotten to the point of wisdom and awareness that I would say, trust yourself if you know it. And if you don't, then get the education. Neither way is wrong. It's just whatever your journey is. And a lot of it has to do with your beliefs about your own intuitive capacities, and your feeling of safety around using that. But I didn't go to Santa Monica. I went to John F. Kennedy University because I wanted to be at a school that provided degrees. But ironically, I ended up meeting my boyfriend prior to like my last, or the second to last quarter, who lived in New York. And I met him.
I know where this might be heading.
Yeah, but it was even more ironic because I was writing a paper on my own spiritual autobiography, because I actually had to take a course on spiritual psychotherapies and all of the traditions of spiritual psychotherapies. So like when a lot of my clients are like, you have a big toolbox, I was like, you have no idea the amount. Like, my toolbox is probably worth over like a half of like $250,000 of courses. So I'm so glad it works. But so I meet my boyfriend and I go into this thing of like love, or like my journey and what I really had gotten. And it was a really hard thing for me to see because I was an only child. Like, I had been utilizing figuring out about myself to isolate myself because I really didn't feel comfortable with other people, which goes back to the middle school thing. And the plaid that I'm wearing, right? So like, yeah, like, you know, even us, like old patterns sometimes die hard, and sometimes you're the last to know it. So
yes, Reba McEntire has a song about that, and it's called "The Last One to Know."
Amen. Amen. So I decide, panic driven basically, but totally in love, meeting somebody, you know, it's like the first time you meet somebody you could see the rest of your life with, and decide to go to New York. First of all, I was living near the ocean, like in the redwoods, like so in my own world that, and in this world of very high, like spiritual, like teachings, where like, you know, we have an altar every time we have class, into the middle of Manhattan, which was like, I used to tell people that if anybody referred to me, somebody who was having issues because they lived in Manhattan, I just told them to move out of the city, because I really didn't know how to effectively deal with it, because I wouldn't know how to deal with it if I was in whatever. So the ironic thing is, and this goes back to about coaching, like my biggest education was the experience itself, and coming to New York City and being in a place where there are so many people around me that did not have the same type of belief systems that I had, that did not see and were not really into the health and wellness to the degree that I was. And so my
already post 2012, so health and wellness was already a pretty big market, wasn't it?
I came here, I met my boyfriend like 2 months prior to like 2012. So it was, but I would have to say there's been an exponential boom since 2012 in the last 2 years here that I've seen happen. So it went from like people being health coaches and graduates of IIN, which is the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, who not there's a woman behind the man that founded it. Her name is Marcy Zaroff. And the first thing that I did when I got here, after I volunteered at a nursery school because I was so overwhelmed by being in New York that I just wanted to be in a very quiet environment. Seriously, just so you know, like the degree of like, you know, a lot of these coaches and people have big personalities. Like I'm more like the, like, you know, shy person on the beach. Like I'll have my like I'm not the most, I'm outgoing when I'm in my element, but I'm definitely not like the extrovert that wants to be on TV. So,
Well, I'll say that having a toddler myself, a nursery was probably not the most quiet place that you can find in New York City.
you know what? At least you didn't have to deal with adult people personalities of a 9 to 5, and I could deal with the tantrums of the, like, you know, apple juice spilled milk. Like I had the emotional capacity to deal with that once being in New York City, which was such an energetic strain that I didn't even, you know, notice from going from the redwoods to, you know, middle of downtown Manhattan. So truly, what ended up happening is after a year, I had this angry fire come up inside of me. And I was helping somebody start a conscious business, who, Marcy Zaroff, who started that Institute for Integrative Nutrition, genius serial entrepreneur. But I knew that I went to graduate school and I did all this because I did have something that was meant to come through me, and it wasn't being able to come through me and I was working for a company called I Am Enlightened Creations. Like it wasn't like I was really far out of the zone of where I was meant to do. And I was building tribe and community there. That was part of what I was doing. But I would wake up angry at everything. It was like a volcano wanted to erupt in me of certain energy. And I eventually, actually after going to a Gabby Bernstein event, which I had my company sponsor, where I was like, no more. Like I have to stop. Like there is something deeper within me. I didn't do all this training for nothing. Like I'm meant to work with people to improve people, not provide them a product, right? Not like a supplement that they drink. Like I wanted to give them everything. I want to be able to literally energetically transform their being. It was like what I wanted. It's almost my creative expression as on this planet, is to transform people and to help people transform and know themselves as a transformational artist of themselves in their own life.
Exactly. You're getting some comments over here on Periscope that the Flav, that yes, they say, and that they feel that too.
For which one?
when you're talking about, I think, being angry with yourself and actually realizing that you have this gift and you have all this knowledge that you were meant to transform the world.
Oh, and if you have it, you've got to listen to it, because like I'm a fire sign and I'm Sagittarius, but like fire will either burn you or it will like it will propel you forward. And like any element, it's really your ability to harness that energy for its highest good. Right? So when I got to like knowing I was yelling at my boyfriend for no reason and getting really pissed at people who I used to love, I was like, whoa, step back. Like something had to change. Now, it was really scary because to leave my position, now I didn't have that same situation where it's like, I'm raising 3 kids and that type of transition. But what I did have, which was my own fear, is look, like I didn't have my graduate degree. Like we all have our own vices of whatever goes in our head that is telling us no. Like we always have that safety mechanism that kicks in, whether it's, I don't have the money, whether it's my husband is going to have to support us. Like we all have whatever that is for our created reality at the moment. So what I had to deal with was, do I have the authority to be a coach? Because I didn't finish my graduate degree. Like I was really afraid and ashamed of that. And I hadn't been doing it for a while. So, did I forget my skills? And, how we met is that, I ended up finding a coach who had a background as a psychotherapist and then became a coach and then became very successful in it. And I really just threw myself in a group program with women. I was like, I need tribe. 2, I need a vacation. And 3, I need to make money doing what I love. So I found a coach and a program that had all of that. And I was like, there became a point where there was just, the most enlightened thing I could say, which is really just fuck it. And I did it.
Go, girl. Oh my gosh.
And that really became, my very Buddha way of doing it. Because, and I would love to say this more just from a more evolved point of view now down the line, is, when you're getting to that point of like, you're in a movie and the movie's going a certain way and you're all of a sudden like so sick of the movie, which is your life in front of you, what's coming up is this creative capacity within yourself to say, you know what, you can actually change this movie. Like once you're getting bored of what's being created, you can change it. Now, what ends up happening is we start reaching outside of ourselves for all these excuses of why that is. And actually, what it is more like actually changing the real inside of us to project a new story. And that's truly, with all these transformational moments, what's happening. And while it can be very, I'm not going to say the word traumatic, but it's both, it's a rupture of normality the first time you do it. But when you start understanding that your life is the result of your own programs and your patterns and what your parents told you to create or what you thought you should create and everything, and you're living that out and the feedback loop isn't enjoyable, it's because your body wants you to go towards something enjoyable, which is something different. And I have to say that this, we were talking before we got on the thing about pleasure, about sexuality, of like, it is a revolutionary thing to go after and do what makes you happy, truly. Not like just what like makes, but like truly like having a career that makes you feel alive and turns you on, whether that's sexually or just feeling alive in the morning, is a revolutionary act. Because even when people, like, we have this whole like feminine revolution, which, remember, I went to an all-girls school, I'm really schooled in this really well. I did a thing on the suffragettes when I was in 4th grade. I like know this stuff. But even that was, a response to a masculine system, right? So we ended up, we're like, we have, birth control, contraception. Now we can, you know, use our bodies, whatever. But as we've seen in like the 1990s with like the horrible, you know, Dallas and pantsuits epidemic of television, we didn't get so feminine. I mean, we had the Madonnas, but like we had this kind of extreme polarity that we went in as women. And what's coming forward both in women and in humanity on, for some people watching a specific movie, is this capacity to what enlivens me, what turns me on. And but by turning on, I mean what actually energizes me, which means is what is congruent with my system, what keeps more energy going for me. Because what this whole thing is learning how to master, manipulate, and like be almost like a master craftsman of our own creative energy. You know, that is what we're facilitating as coaches with others. You know, you are an energetic being. You are expressing yourself as a certain way. You're thinking a certain way. All of that is malleable. You know, I used to, and to some degree, I still call myself a brand alchemist, because we're all energy. And what it requires is you to get uncollapsed with your identification of your stories or your identification of what's so, and your deep beliefs, which is not, does not have to be a hard act, but isn't not necessarily so easy in the beginning. But, you know, they always say like the truth will set you free and love is all there is. And while that can sound, you know, in the most dire of circumstances, like not the thing you need to hear,
But it's
we
so
are
true.
driven by truth. And the truth, the desire for truth is the desire for freedom and the desire for, and I'm going for a notion of sovereignty. There's this notion of versus individuality. Sovereignty is the ability to be sovereign in who you are as a whole person, with respect for the whole. And the fact that everybody is having their own movie in their own world and it's totally perfect, right?
All
So
connected is the other thing.
absolutely. Well, that's on like the big, and that's truly, now, thank you for the wonderful segue. But what 1111 is about. This is just my opinion. It's not the truth. But I would say, you know what? If you're listening to a movie in your head that doesn't empower you, try this on. If this more empowers you, take it on as possibly. But so 1111 is like 1111. So truly, we are all both sovereign individuals inside of a one collective body. And the easiest way, in the most non-woo way of understanding this is, look, there's a hydraulic system. The ocean goes into like the air goes into rain, it goes down the river. Like there's a system, and there's all these, you know, there's an ecosystem that all lives according to each other. Like we get honey because there's bees and the bees pollinate whatever. Like we all are living in a coherent system. And for some reason, us as human beings think that we're outside of that system, which isn't true. We're truly just fracking the system as it is in perfect motion. But we are, as energies, all connected from the mere fact that we're all on the same planet. And what's being asked of us truly is to see ourselves. And it is like the most blissful experience when you really get that we're all one. Most of all of our experiences of either contraction or fear comes from either needing to get someplace that you're not, beat somebody or have something that you don't have, or win over the liking of somebody else, or get somewhere else. And when there's nobody that you're competing against, because really it's all one and it's all love, there becomes this like, you go from running your head into walls to like dancing in life in a tango, because there is no other that you're in opposition to in the same way. And it takes a lot of energy to be in opposition to things. It takes a lot of beliefs. It actually, if you don't feel good about it, it's because it's not natural to your system. It's something that is a belief that got stuck and created that you're living inside of, and your body's wanting to push you out of it. Because in homeostasis, like, this is truly, we're given a conscious body to create what our dreams are based on the creative energy that comes through us. And that, I promise you, in the upcoming years will be, and when our children are born, they will remind us of that. If we, and I love it, like the sun is coming out of the clouds as I'm saying this. But this is a laboratory and a playground for play based in love. We've kind of forgotten that, and that's fine. But it truly is what it's all about. And why so many people want to be coaches or in this health field is everybody wants to have their experience of facilitating this awakeness in others, because we're all one. Like, there is such this joy that, you know, if you're called to either be a personal trainer or a coach or a business coach or whatever, or mindset coach or success coach or whatever you want to call it, you're so driven by the love of awakening another conscious being that you're connected to, that you're inherently a part of. It is like
how you actually made the connection there with children. It just brought to mind for me, I'm not sure if you've heard of him. His name is Dr. Bill Sears. He's written like about 40 books on parenting, and he's a pediatrician. But one of the things that he shares, and that really has stuck with me, is whatever situation you're in, just imagine seeing the world through the eyes of a child. Like, obviously for me, it's the eyes of my child, but in any situation that you're in, just come back to, it's almost like coming back to source, because you're innocent. You don't do any wrong. You don't know how to do wrong. You're just doing what comes naturally. And if you are able to see the situation, see life, even get down to that level and just really see the world through the eyes of a child, the answers all lie there.
I'm so glad you said that, and I could not agree more. Truly evolving is unlearning.
I love that. That's
it's just that we're a little bit more stubborn and attached. We've created this identity that kind of is like, you know, I got my street cred, like I'm right about this. Like, we've had like things that happen that we have to prove while it's right, you know, and like the kids are like, no, you know, I just want another brownie cookie. Like, it's really all good over there. And this whole, like, ironically, this whole, like, we are, you know, usually you had to, like, you know, well, whether or not you believe in reincarnation or whatever, it doesn't matter. But it's usually you had to like go to like a reset, which is usually happens, you know, you go to the other side and then you come back. Or you can think about Super Mario Brothers, like you die and then you come back up and you get all your lives back, right? But what's happening in the sense of what this really whole coaching thing is like learning. It's an industry of unlearning. So we have unbridled creative exploration, which is our birthright from the beginning. We just have specific, over time, we've developed institutions that, you know, are generating our attention in a certain way, and we are now being given the opportunity. And that's not wrong or right. I don't have any judgments about it. But what we're craving, like truly craving as creative individuals, is the full expression of our creativity. You know, that's why where people are like, I couldn't just do this job because I have all these other ideas that I wasn't able to channel into it. Like, we're being asked and wanting to express the full range. Like I say, like, we're wanting to be like a living rainbow, like of all of the things that we're capable of doing. And children have that. You know, that's like when you look through the eyes of a child, children don't even think about, you know, like, I'm going to be really open-minded today. You know, they just are. They're fascinated by the world. And that is what, it's an amazing gift to be able to consciously choose and go back there, because you have like this same experience in the same body of going away from it and coming back to it. And it's almost like you still have the ability in at any moment to choose which way you look at the lens. And that's when things start getting really fun, because there is no isness. You get that anything in front of you can be perceived through any lens. And that's truly what I've been committed to in Luminous Living, because for me, luminous is living as light, and living as light is beyond just your identity and your form. And that is like when you see and you hold a baby, they're like, you like are in awe. They're like almost like they don't look like they're from here. They like glow. They're like, you smile. And I want all adults, eventually everybody, but especially women and women entrepreneurs to be able to have that, because inside of my commitment for the planet and the evolution of the planet, or the unlearning of the planet, we don't need, but I would like to have a storyline where there's women that have really profitable businesses that, if they choose to, have children, which they're able to really raise inside a very conscious way of allowing their full bridled creativity to happen. So that those children can grow up with the expression of that, right? And then work in companies or create companies. And that is what's going to turn the tide. So for me, when I wanted to be a marriage and family therapist, like, yes, I wanted to learn how to coach, but it was like, what can I do to support these children that already are on this planet that have so many more answers than we're willing to even allow ourselves to give them credit for, right? Because they see things that we can't see because we have blinders of beliefs and habits, right? And so I wanted to help families make sure that those children stay open, because they're like a wellspring of our solutions. And now where it's gotten to is, I actually even want to handle it before that. Like, I want the women, whether or not you've had children or if you're having children, like, I want you to be fun and open and have your business and have the life you love and be profitable in it and create a conscious business so that you can create a conscious family, so that you can really create a conscious world that's based in love and a lot more play. Because, the rest of it got boring and I was wearing plaid, and now I still am, but I'm not bored.
Because you chose to wear it. You chose.
I love it. I am so grateful for, one of the things that sometimes we do is we make contrast wrong. Like the fact of like, this happened. Like, why did this happen? Like, I am so grateful it all happened, because on a soul level, the soul is just here having experiences. We're the ones that make the meaning of that this was a good or bad experience. Mm-hmm. And if you can get to the level that it's all of a feedback of an experience, and
what that you choose to make
that you completely, you both choose, and in some regards, you're just like, you're wanting to listen to rock music, and then you listen to hip hop, and then you're listening to folk, and that is all these variety of experiences. And you're here on a playground of experiences, which are colored by emotion, which is your interpretation of how your energetic response to the creation of the experiences. But that's a little bit of a different thing. But so essentially, we got a playground of energy, and you can unlearn your habits so that you can enjoy them better. And if you're having the fire inside of you to express something, it's because your soul knows that this is like, there's an empty dance floor and you want to boogie down, and your cubicle isn't doing it for you. And there's a reason for that, because the people that created it probably didn't hear the same music you did. And now we need more music in this world, because we're really one big single symphony.
Vibration. That's all we are. That's all.
Exactly.
Would you say that this is actually part of your definition of success in life? Like being able to find that for yourself?
I would say success is being able, to serendipitously and synchronistically serve in the ways that delight and further my own, the word is like sparkliness, but I mean like that it's success is being able to be alive, to be enlivened, and to gain my livelihood from feeling all of that.
Love that. Love that, Joanna.
And I love that the sun just came out as I said that. But like, there is such this thing of like, wherever you are in any moment, this is like the big message I've been really wanting to give people. I'm like, you're born, you come in with a breath, you go in this vessel for a whole journey, and then you stop breathing, and then you go on. So this is like, you have this vessel, right? This little earth vessel, and then you got this spirit that's coming through you that's breathing. Truly, there's nothing more than that going on. You've got to take care of your vessel, and you got a spirit going through you. And this whole realm is whatever you make of it inside of that. There's really only breath and your body and what you choose to experience. And there's freedom in that. And the freedom is what gives you the ability to have the range of the experiences, whatever that is for you.
But I mean, I'm sure you come across it with all of your clients or even colleagues that there is a blockage. I mean, there are people who are seeking more awakening and desire more, personal development or just
being alive.
Being alive, really. But like, what would you what words, what tips would you actually share with somebody who really truly desires this but doesn't even know the first steps to actually move in that direction? Because
meditate. Get some type of regular committed practice, because a lot of this stuff, remember, we're having this experience in a human body. The human body is an energetic pattern. So if you want to have new results, you've got to interrupt your said pattern, which means make a committed practice to whatever it is. Even if it's like walking on the treadmill 10 minutes a day. What that is, and what I'm so, it's undervalued and overlooked, is that this enlightened state or this capacity is a neurological capacity. Subconsciousness is a neurological issue. So what you have to do is repattern a lot of your habits. And I think, because this is more from my background and more somatic thing, if you take new body actions, like me